you to put the word out there. We back up. We back up.
Well, I think we ain't doing it. I think we ain't doing it.
No Nation. Welcome into another episode of the Renegade Rundown. As always, I've got my lovely and beautiful co-host Jen Santee with me here on a Friday night. FSU is absolutely on fire in the portal, all the way up to number 6 in the rankings. We've got a commit to talk about. We've got several targets from the portal from high school, and we've also got a very special guest. The amazing Everett Dawkins was at Florida State from 2009 to 2012. He's currently a defensive line coach at Burns High School in Duncan, South Carolina. Dude was a beast force at Florida State, 42 starts, 106 tackles, 16 tackles for a loss, 7 sacks. He had an interception, passes defended, everything got picked up in the NFL. Spent a couple years there, won a 2012 ACC championship. They were division champs in 2010. When G5 lit the world on fire with that hit against South Carolina and really changed the future of FSU. A guy that's been a fan favorite, you know, like me and Jim were talking about off screen. For a lot of Noles out there, I'm sure most of you guys know exactly who he is. Everett Dawkins. Welcome in, man. We're fired up. I know you're a bit of a recruitnik yourself, as well as coaching defensive line and everything else with your family. So thanks for joining us, man. It's going to be a fun conversation.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is kind of like my dream why I started this thing. I was lucky enough to find Jen a couple months into it. She's been amazing. So every time we get a former player in here, I'm getting better about it with the starstruck thing and being able to talk. But yeah, it never gets old. We've been super lucky to have some amazing players in here, and to get Everett in here is really cool. I'll just jump off the top rope. You guys saw the intro. We'll get back into it in a little bit once people start to get in here. But the big news is Luke Pettibone, the center from Wake Forest, a guy that we talked about on the Tuesday show and on the previous Friday show when he had first hit. When we missed on Addison Nichols and Caden Kittler, the two centers, one from UCF, the other from Arkansas, that was kind of the only thing I was really critical of the staff. That seemed like the only real miss we had. And at that time, that was like before Deuce and Micah and now Pettibone had committed. So people were kind of shaky. Everybody wanted to jump on the bandwagon, you know, when I made that post, being a little bit critical. All the Chicken Little, see, I told you so, this and that. I was like, whoa. I was criticizing one thing that happened, okay? I'm 100% on this staff, as everybody at this channel knows. They've pretty much done exactly what we called for, needed. Like, they've knocked it out of the park, in my opinion. Outside of Castellanos, I think most people agree with everything. People are kind of 50-50 on that one. But Pettibone hit the portal literally the same day that both those guys committed elsewhere. So now looking in hindsight, the Wake Forest center, I don't know, maybe if there was some talk there, maybe they knew he was coming in, and that's why the guys decided to go elsewhere, et cetera, but still a huge pickup. He's a little undersized, so some people have really complained about that online, but 6'2", 295 pounds, a true pass blocking center. He had 385 snaps with only 6 pressures. A 99 pass blocking grade, I think, which is like, crazy. A 70+ overall power PFF grade, 2-year starter. If you saw the highlights, a couple of those highlights were against FSU and that vaunted D-line in 23 and another one from 24 against Joshua Farmer. What he did against Braden Fisk was like pretty impressive. But Everett, first thoughts on kind of what we've done at offensive line and how important it is to get a center in here to go along with those 2 tackles and, of course, the left guard.
I love it, man. I always say it starts up front, right? So no good offensive line, no good defensive line, nothing else matters because you can't get the ball to them and they can run it down your throat, right? So I think our offensive line pickup has been great. Got a lot of heavy guys coming in, guys that were starters at their schools. I think we've never had our offense. I'm not gonna say never, but it's been a long time since we've got this much experience and the grades to go along with it. The center, the weight, I'm not worried about that. Do you remember Brian Stork?
Mm-hmm.
He was not the biggest guy, But at center, if you're fast, you can cause a lot of problems, especially for bigger guys, because you can out leverage them, you can hook them, you can do a lot of different stuff. And look at that film against us last year, this when speed is going against speed. Now you run into a little bit of trouble, right? Because you're not used to having to go guys as fast as you are, or somebody that can keep up with you. So I'm excited about it, man. Herb has been amazing. I think that was a great hire for us. We talked about it on social media before. I know I said something, but Boware had said something, and I kind of just piggybacked off of what he said, that we need guys with experience who already proved themselves, not new guys trying to get themselves on the team, because we're not in that place right now, and we don't have time to experiment, and we don't have time to, hope this guy is what we need. We know we need to bring in guys that we know are what we need, and Herb has experience everywhere he's been. He's been able to get guys in that were solid, and it's Florida State. So kids actually want to come to Florida State, right? Even us 2-10, that doesn't matter. It's still Florida State. It's the brand. And I know a lot of guys feel however they feel about Jimbo, but one thing he always us is the brand is the brand, no matter who's here. He said, EJ was there, Greg was there, you name it. All the players on the team. He always told us, long after we're gone, the Florida State was still going to be Florida State, even himself. And that's still the case. It's still Florida State, no matter who it is there. If you got the right people in place, you can get the guys that you want to get. Now we see this in this transfer portal. We're actually getting these guys that we've been missing on every year. So I'm excited about the offensive line because that just gives us a lot more opportunities. And that even goes to the quarterback situation. I understand it. I see it. We're going to have more athletes than Boston College had on the outside and at running back. And Boston College usually always has a good line. That's what they're known for. But we're going to have a good one too. So you put that with the running backs and the receivers that we should have this year. I don't know how good the receivers are going to be. There's going to be a lot of tall guys. But from my opinion, we're going to be demanding a lot more than we demanded in the past at that position. So I see no reason why, can't be a heavy run team with a reliable passing game as well. So I like the quarterback situation because you look back at all the Travis highlights, it's him scrambling most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's not him, you had a few passing, but it's a lot of him scrambling. And that's what's been our thing. Even Jameis, he scrambled a lot. Yeah, he threw some passes, but Jameis, he made some magic happen with his foot, with his feet. And even going back to EJ's, that's just our makeup. Even Ponder was quick. Ponder was fast as well. Like, it's just always having quarterback.
People forget how much Jimbo ran Ponder. He was a soldier, man.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely, yeah. People just look at him and think him as a pocket passer, but no, Ponder was fast. He was explosive. So, I like a lot of things that's going on, and it just goes back to the brand being the brand. 2-10, 1-11, it doesn't matter. If people know they can come to Florida State and play and make a name for themselves, they know they'll be etched in Florida State history forever if they come back and help the school win. So I'm excited about the thing that's going on right now.
I know Jen is fired up. We won't be negative. We'll keep it positive. But, she kind of called a spade when you talked about, you said we had to get guys with experience in the snaps, but then you added on with the grades. That's what we didn't have. We had 13,000 snaps last year, but we just didn't have the grades. And I think a reason for that is kind of what you just pointed out with running the ball. Like the leverage that Jordan Travis put on defensive lines and linebackers to hold them up because he may run out. And if you run past him, then he's going to go. That was non-existent, especially with DJU having a bum leg to start the year, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, that's one of the main reasons I was all in on Thomas Castellanos. But what they've been able to do with the offensive line, like the Pettis grab, like the Medley grab, we pretty much knew that was in the bag. But for them to go grab Pettis and Gunnar Hansen on like bookend tackles, like, yeah, that's just all about the logo and Herb Hand. So, Jen, I want to know how you feel because, like, are you surprised? Like, where are you at on a scale of 1 to 10 of how amazing of a job he's done? I know you love his social media presence. Like, he gets it. Like, he looks like he's not the stereotypical guy that you think would be a beast on social media. But, I mean, I don't know if he's taken after Terrence Knighton or if he's always done that, but he's got me in stitches every day. And like, he's got these offensive linemen fired up to come to Florida State.
Well, one, I am not surprised that offensive linemen are fired up about Herb Hand. I mean, if you ever hear from offensive linemen, they hear the name Herb Hand and they say, let's go. Please go watch In the Coop podcast with Christian Meadows. When they found out who it was, right? They were like, let's go. Every offensive lineman loves Herb Hand. And by the way, for anybody to say that Herb Hand was like the fourth choice or whatever it is you want to say, that's just not accurate. I think Herb Hand was in the mix to become the next head coach at UCF. I think that's just the truth. I think if they didn't get Scott Frost, they would have gone with continuity. So let's look at it that way. This was held off as an announcement for that reason. I mean, I think that's been proven to be true. And these offensive linemen have followed him, minus the two they missed on, but they went to Arkansas. They went to Netflix deals and whatever it is that you could. I mean, the ACC can't offer you that. Okay. They're not going to offer that. And that's fine. And the players they got in, by the way, Ole Miss was trying to keep Pettis. Like, y'all could anybody can sit there and criticize and do whatever they want. But Ole Miss was sitting there trying to keep that kid for a reason, right? They were throwing the money, they were doing everything that they could. So we've got to understand what this guy, and by the way, and I'm not just saying this because I was on the bandwagon, our offensive line was trash. And I'm not being negative, I'm just being factual at this point. I think everybody's come around to my point now, thank God. That it wasn't living up to the standard. It wasn't the standard. It hasn't been, it wasn't, and we needed a, new direction, and we've got it. And you want those real tough, like military type guys. That's what you want. Like, please. I'm not just saying the Rick Trickett types, and I know that kind of fell off at the end. And I'm not saying that just so that Clint Trickett would come back. That's not, maybe a little, just maybe a little, just for some mind candy for the ladies. But I'm only, this is going to be a different offensive line than we saw this year, and it's going to be better. We're going to see some different, we're going to see a lot of different games. And we're not going to see this breakdown that we've seen in the past. And I know that, everybody wants to tease on the kid from this and that and whatever, and that they weren't top-notch transfers. Yeah, they were. Yeah, they were. Every last one of them were. And I don't want to sit here, and I'm not going to run down numbers, but other teams were throwing numbers at these kids. But these kids knew they could come in here, play, and play for the logo, do well, and move on. And that's what we're getting.
Well, I mean, just look at, the legendary status around Dawkins, around a lot of those guys. Jacoby McDaniel, that was just such a huge thing to get coming off the quote unquote lost decade, which is nowhere near as bad as 2-10. But that comeback, for me, like I said, that South Carolina game, 2010, 2011 versus Oklahoma, those are the greatest memories I have. Maybe it's just because of my age and the whole Tim Tebow thing, but yeah. And on Herb Hand, I totally agree. He talked about how there's and maybe you can shed some light onto this. There's what's the word I'm looking for? A fraternity amongst offensive line coaches, and the ability to have done it year over year. Certain coaches, it's almost like the chicken or the egg. How do you become that guy that can get those top guys? And he's one of these people who's just done it year in, year after. And since they were at Auburn, obviously, and even Auburn doesn't measure up to Florida State. So you knew when he had that logo, this logo right here, going into these schools and talking to transfer portal guys, it was going to help. But the thing that gave me the most hope, and I won't say any names, this is second string information from a couple players on the team that somebody else talked to. They weren't fans of him. They were like, no, we went down here. He is an asshole. We didn't want nothing to do with him. So I won't name the guys, but when I heard that, I said, hell yeah, that's what we need. We need a Marine to come in here and straighten those guys out. But before I keep running my mouth, what are your thoughts on Herb Hand before we kind of move into the next players and the next topic?
Right. Well, just back off what you kind of said. I didn't know much about him, but the more I heard, the more I liked him, because like I tweeted the other day, Rick Trickett is my favorite coach ever, and it's for a reason. He didn't play any games. You knew what you were going to get out of him, and the guys knew what he expected every day. And if you didn't do it, he was going to be on you about it. So the best way, for him not to be on your tail was for you to do the right things, do the things you were supposed to do that, the right way. So that's what we need. It's attention to detail, man. We need it. Kids don't like to be coached hard nowadays. It's a different generation. So when you got kids that actually want to take on that type of coaching, and you can look at that resume and see, well, he's did this, he's put this many people in the league, he's helped these many, guys get paid. I want to go there. Yeah, this other coach, he's nice to me, he's cool, he sounds good, but let me look at his resume. I don't see anything I like, So yeah, I do like you as a person, but as a coach, this guy's going to be a better person for me because he's going to be that father figure that's going to, make me be accountable and hold me accountable. So, like you said, players were saying, he's an asshole. I don't. That's perfect, right? Because football is not easy, and especially if we're talking about on the college level, it's not meant to be easy. This is supposed to be one of the hardest points in your life. When I went through Florida State, by no means was it easy. I don't know if I could go back and do it. You know what I mean? Because we really put in a lot of work. So, it's not meant to be easy. Your coaches don't have to be your best. They do need to be great father figures to you and somebody who demands perfection out of you every day. So I'm happy for it. That's the type of guy that we need. And obviously, you see what's going on. We're getting guys we've never got before. We're killing it in the portal. And that's why I wasn't really worried about, signing these kids on signing day, right? We lost all of these kids and all these recruits on signing day. That probably maybe one of them would be ready to come in year one and play and start, but the rest of them, they would have to go into the cycle and get reps and take a couple years because it doesn't happen like that for everybody, right? I redshirted. I played a total 5 years, but you just don't wake up and be ready to play college football. It's not many kids coming out of high school that can play as a true freshman, right? So I was okay with that because in my head is once we get our guy, then everything will work out for us. So I'm excited about the portal, but imagine what he's going to do next year when it's time. Well, maybe I'm not even going to say next year because you still have early signing day is over with, but you still have the next signing day coming up. And even just imagine the next early signing day, what kind of stuff he's going to do. So I think this is just a small piece of what's to come. And, you're getting those guys in like Menelik Watson, the Andrew
Ooh,
Denver.
there's the name.
God,
Some Cam
stop.
Irving. Get some Cam Irvings in here. Get some bodies.
Big Cam. Cam he was with us at D tackle, and they took him and put him at offensive tackle. And
Dude, when he moved inside the center that year, he started bowling folks over, man.
He was always athletic, man. And the thing about it, he was so long and his arms were so long, he would always get face masks on defense because he would always put his hands up under the guy's helmet. And I think, I'll be honest with you, I think he would have still been he could have still been like top first day defensive tackle, but they put him at top offensive tackle and it worked out great. You got those type of
he was just good everywhere he went, man. What a no for sure.
Fine defensive line, he asked me, do I think he should do it? I'm like, man, I can do it. I said I do love Rick Trickett, like I said, but man, I don't know if I could do all that stuff they did. You know what I mean? But he ended up going. I think somebody told him I said that. I was like, man, that was between me and you. Coach that because someone I think Odell said something to me about it. Man, I was like, Coach, I'm just being honest. I'm speaking for myself. You know what I mean? But it worked out great for him. So it worked out perfect. But I think that's what we need, and I'm happy we got him. Honestly, if not him, then who else? Who else would have been a great fit? And this kind of these changes that we've already started seeing. You know what I mean? I can't. Another guy, you know what I mean? I didn't even know who Herb Hand was until we signed him, and I'm
yeah, man. You mentioned it. Like they didn't to go from 52 to 19. What they did in the high school class, it wasn't anything crazy, but still they did a damn good job. And we'll get to it a little bit later. But they're spinning the block and especially him on a couple big offensive line recruits that possibly in
Um,
February we may get committed. So it's not over yet. There's definitely time to go. Florida State could possibly pop into the top 15 of the high school rankings as well. Go ahead, Jen.
Hang on. I just have one thing to say. To go to 19 from 52 is kind of a big deal. And also to only be 6 spots behind Miami with their generational quarterback with their best year ever. Only 6 bucks behind, really, after winning 2 games? That has to be humiliating. That's all I'm going to say. That has to be humiliating, a little humbling. Maybe your logo doesn't hold the weight you think it does. That's all.
Yeah.
Specifically after the narrative they pushed of like, oh, y'all won 10 games and only got the 12 recruiting class. And now here they are. We won't get into
Yeah.
that rant because I've done that rant for our audience 100 times. But I
Yeah.
guarantee you, those top 5 classes, they were mirages. And all them players are going to be gone. It's going to be fun to see them without Cam Ward next year. And I'm getting more and more excited, for what we have for sure. There's still an offensive lineman out there. 6'7", 323 pounds, a Central Connecticut kid, played 25 games in the last 3 seasons. I haven't heard anything big on him. I just know they're still trying to get him in on a visit. Guys, if you didn't know, and I was a little unclear about this on the previous show, it's actually a dead period right now. It started on the 23rd. So what the dead period is, like, they can talk to people, but they can't talk in person. So you can't have visits, and the coaches can't go to the schools or meet in an off-site location or anything like that. So we'll start seeing visits again on January 1st. January 1st to the 5th, transfer people will start to be able to visit Florida State again, and they've got all those days filled up. We'll get into some of the guys they have coming. And then high school, it's still dead during that period. It doesn't open back up till January 6th. So this ain't slowing down. Like this whole thing, I got Jalen Ramsey on the intro talking about we're not done yet. We are definitely not done yet. And shout out to Bobby D's. We really appreciate the $20 super chat. You didn't even put a message up there, man. All super chats get read. So if you ever want to say something next time, we really appreciate that super chat for sure. But yeah, along with Rotrell Perry, another guy, and I'm curious, this will be my next question for you, Everett. I'm curious what you think, because it's kind of a hotly debated topic about the running back room we have. Who should be running back 1, who maybe running back 2 is. What are they going to do? Are they going to still have that tailback situation, or is it going to be more of one, kind of position at running back? But the guy that we're looking at is a guy named Rasul Faison from Utah State. He was at Marshall and then JUCO. He's kind of had an up and down career, but he ends up at Utah State for 2 years, runs for almost 2,000 yards. But specifically this year, 198 carries, 1,109 yards, 8 touchdowns, 5.6 yards per carry, almost 100 yards on 22 receptions. I'm of the opinion this is the time. Like, if we're going to bring in this guy, yeah, bring him in. Absolutely. Him or the guy for the Tulane that I'll bring up next after we get your opinion. But just curious, like, do we need to bring in a guy? Or what do you think about what's on the roster?
I think you do, because right now you don't have a proven guy. I know we offered the kid who transferred out, right? Has he committed anywhere yet? The CJ?
Yes.
We
I
offered.
believe he went to CJ Campbell. So you mean, right? I think he landed somewhere else. He went to
He landed somewhere else already.
I can't remember, but somewhere like a smaller school, I think.
I hated that we lost him because he was electric, right? But I think
Sore subject with me, man. They should have. I called for this shit all last year. Put him on scholarship. Put him on scholarship. Oh well, they're gonna give him an NIL for equivalent money. He's gonna leave. Put him on scholarship. He would have been our best running back. But I'll shut up and let you. Sorry to interrupt you.
Sure, yeah, definitely. The thing about with freshmen and even with them being highly touted, you don't know what you're gonna get, right? I think the kid have now the Cam Davis, I think he's got a bright future. He's starstruck. That goes back to every freshman not ready to play that freshman year. It takes time to get comfortable on the college scene. You're going against a lot of bigger guys. Competition is even. It's not high school where you got guys on the field who are dominant and the other guys are just, average. So I think that come in now. With that being said, freshman that we have coming in, the guy who's pretty electric, reminds me of James White. I'm ready to see what he can do, because he's one of those guys that looks like, hey, he's gonna be ready. So I think you have have a situation where Cam is this next year, and say if we get the Utah guy, we kind of get three kind of rotation back, kind of like we had the year before with when Verston was all. I think you let those guys play around with a hot hand. But if somebody doesn't evolve in their game, then you take your two best guys and let them get their reps, and kind of go from there, because when you got three guys in the mix and you can't give everybody balls, somebody's probably gonna be leaving, just so they can get more reps wherever they may be going.
Yeah. And for the folks wondering on Rasul Faison, we're supposed to get the first visit. I believe it's us in Ohio State, maybe a couple people after him, but we will be getting him on campus. And I agree totally. That's my thing. Like, they need somebody to grow behind, somebody that's just going to go do his job. It kind of drove me nuts, and we won't get too deep into it, but you made a good point about Cam not being quite ready. I thought the coaching staff just put him in terrible positions all year. Like, Lawrence Toafili would get you down the field, and now we're in the red zone. Let's go to the true freshman. And I think it was kind of his size and who he was as a runner versus Toafili, but it was just such a tough spot to put him in. Bad all line, and it's like, it's just, and people act like he fumbled 80 times because his couple fumbles were just in key moments, like down in the red zone when it's like, But yeah, I agree. I think he'll be great. He just needs a little time. And yeah, obviously the elephant in the room is that offensive line. So if they did miss some open holes, but when you're like, oh my God, it's got to be tough.
But is he more of a? He's not more of a shifty guy. He's more of a goal line, short yardage guy. Right, correct. So that's where you got a little, because you look back at our pedigree of running backs. We're shifty, we're electric. You know what I mean? James Wilder's was big, but he was still, if he got couldn't catch him. You know what I mean? Freeman, of course, look, Akers. You even when I go back to Jermaine Thomas, we call another running back Boogie, like
JT. Oh man,
Chris, look, all of those guys were just electric guys, and they could really just go. So, how is his fit, with what we're going to be doing? So will he be limited into being more of a short yardage guy or, goal line guy? Because that's just, I don't know. I haven't seen much of him, but from my understanding, he's not the most electric speed wise. You know what I mean?
I think he's a Greg Jones.
Okay. So if you're going to be a Greg Jones, though, you got to be a Greg Jones.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think he's a Greg Jones type. I think that's what they're looking at. As far, but I think, oh man, you just ran down some names there that just took me back. James Wilder. Oh Lord Jesus. Love that kid.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But yeah, I think he's more of a Greg Jones type. I think he's like gonna bully through, bulldoze you, run you down, and make you pay. That's what he is.
And he
for
didn't
sure.
Get that this year because he was in the backfield, so he didn't even get to get that engine.
You couldn't. That offensive line was sitting there going like they didn't know where they were, what they were doing. I'm sorry. Again, this was my biggest gripe all year, and I said this last year, that Jordan Travis masked a lot of issues with the offensive line. I was very concerned with it going into the year. I said we're going to not be very good. As men will say, you don't know bull, is what I got told a million times until 2 and 10 happened. And now, maybe I get to gloat a tad bit, just a tad. But I'm just saying, I think Cam is going to be really good. I think he'll be put in a good position here because with this new offensive line, with these kids that are, almost like office buildings that they've now brought in, I think it'll, maybe work out if everybody gets, plays where they're supposed to play and does what they're supposed to do. I don't know. We'll see.
Right.
So we got two more offensive players to let the people know about as far as targets in the portal before we move on to defense. Our guy, Everett Dawkins, kind of speciality defensive line coach up in South Carolina. True Edwards is a guy who was at La Tech. He came from JUCO, and he was out of eligibility. But then the Diego Pavea ruling comes in, and they expanded it. They didn't make it lifetime. It's just for 1 year. just for this year. We'll get another ruling sometime after this season, but he has at least one more year. And he had 77 receptions, 897 yards, 6 touchdowns at Law Tech. And they're going to get him on campus, somebody they're really pursuing. I'd like to see them pick him up. The other one is a kid named Traylon Ray from West Virginia. Tallahassee native, 6'1", 195 pounds, coming off an injury. So there's a little bit of a ding on his value in the portal. But he's got, again, in Tallahassee, connections to Devin Rispus. I'm sure it's some other guys on that staff. He had 28 receptions for 426 yards, 4 touchdowns. So, yeah, not a ton there. But if you guys have any thoughts on those guys before we move on, I think they would be good pickups just to raise the floor of that wide receiver room for sure.
As long as they can catch. they can catch. They all right with me.
Man,
Yeah.
I got in a little bit of trouble for some of the thumbnails we made during the seasons. I put some cinder blocks on somebody's hands. I felt kind of bad about it, but we had to do what we could do to get some engagement. It was tough times out here. I love Hakeem Williams. He looks like the prototype. He can do all the things, but you got to catch that damn ball. And I've yet to see, with the previous offensive staff, I never saw a single jug machine in a single video. I don't know if they got them hidden in a back room somewhere, but we'll see what they can do with these guys, because take the O-line out of it, take the quarterback play out of it, take everything. When guys were wide open, the ball would hit them in the hands, and they just could not catch it. And I don't know if that's just, the yips or just everything's going wrong. Maybe you could comment on that. Like, is it like a contagious thing sometimes where it's like, holy moly.
I don't understand it. I didn't get it. Like, it was that just goes to show that players weren't really dialed in as much as they should be, right? Because, if you got a problem catching the ball, then we're staying out to practice and we're catching ball off of the jug machine, like you said, right? Anytime that was in the past, we had a guy who was, problems with catching the ball, he would be catching 100 in the morning and 100 after practice. So that goes back to the play. I honestly believe, because the coach can't catch the ball for you. We only got so much time out on the practice field to be with you. You got class and got all this other stuff to do. So at a point that goes into your hand. I had issue with conditioning one year. I think it was mid-season, because we just did what we did in practice. But I started running after practice, and I started running, and that helped me out tremendously during the game. So it's just finding things that work for you and help elevate your game once you notice something is going wrong. If you make that change quick, kudos. But if you don't, then it's on you.
Very well said. I agree completely. Jen, is there any of these offensive guys or a portal offensive guy that I haven't mentioned before we move on to the defensive guys?
No. Well, I would say maybe possibly the running back out of Tennessee that just hit the portal.
Ooh, I missed that.
Some people may want to keep an eye on.
Oh, that's right. Oh no, I'm thinking of the Tulane running back. So one from Tennessee hit as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Jen's got this thing. She won't come out and say it, but I don't know. Maybe there's something in the works there. So check out the Tennessee running back.
No, I would say I think everybody's going to be on this kid, the Sampson kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that right?
I missed it. So you got me.
Sounds familiar.
Oh no, Squirrel. I'm sorry, not Sampson. Squirrel. He's a wide receiver. I would keep an eye on Squirrel. Yep. No, Squirrel. I'm sorry. Yep.
Didn't have him on my notes, but yeah, glad you brought him up. Yeah, that kid would be big. And then the running back from Tulane, Mekhi Hughes, 10th in the nation with 1,400 yards, 17 total touchdowns. Hit the portal at 9:30 a.m. this morning. I haven't seen anything about us possibly getting him on there. We weren't listed in his top people, but we'll see how that one plays out for sure.
Yeah, I think for the Squirrel kid, I think that could be, just a nice little piece. And I would not be surprised if Florida State is in contact with him, or Arizona State, honestly.
So definitely look out for that, and I'll do my research and see what we got going on there. Thank you for Jen for saving the day. I knew I was missing somebody on here. But as we move to the defensive side of the ball, obviously you bring in Tony White in the 3-3-5 defense. The biggest criticism around here, especially for me, was like, holy shit, every third down, we just drop in the same four-man front. The best we get is a spy or a blitz from a corner from the field side, not even a corner on the boundary. So it's like, what? It takes him 6 seconds to get there. How's he ever going to get sacked? So that was my biggest thing with Fuller. And even when Randy Shannon came in, he started mixing up the fronts more and bringing linebackers down in gaps, and it seemed better. So I'm super excited about this 3-3-5, getting Daryl Jackson back, Daniel Lyons, a lot of these young kids. Really excited for it. So very curious on your opinion there before I start talk about some of the defensive linemen they're still getting after, along with James Williams, who they already brought in, and Deontay McCray, who they already brought in, who are, in my opinion, better than anything we had on the squad last year at defensive end.
Yeah, I'm excited about it, man. I like what he's bringing, the energy he's bringing, the guys that he's bringing in as well. We got guys coming. Jackson's going to be a big defense coming back, and some of the other guys that we picked up in the portal. It's going to be interesting to see who they move pieces around with and who's going to be the stand-up. With that 3-man, the guy down playing on the edge as well. It's going to be a little interesting to see, but and that pretty much with the blitzes, it all depends on who you have up front, right? If you got 4 guys who can get to the ball, then you don't have to blitz. But
that's it.
If you don't have those guys, then you have to blitz. And I think at a certain point last year, we knew that, well, our guys that we thought were these, people, they aren't, So now we need to start blitzing. And that's making the – that's being the coach, right? And that's, knowing your personnel and going from there. And when people don't make those adjustments, what I like to be stubborn and locked in your ways. And, sometimes that results in you lose your job. And that's just pretty much how that goes, man. In the coaching world, I've seen even on the high school level is, egos are huge, right? And I can only imagine college level even worse, but people really like to, they don't adjust to the kids. They try to make the kids adjust to the scheme, even after you've been trying to get them to adjust to it for a long time and it hasn't happened. Well, at a certain point, you need, right? Or either this is what you're going to, best product you got to put on the field, and you must be okay with being a 50 chance of them doing it the way they're supposed to and doing it the way they're not supposed to, right? So, yeah, I'm excited about it. I like what they're doing front, and I'm just excited. I think we're going to be pretty darn good this year, and I haven't came out and said it every year, Florida State guy, but I think we're going to exceed a lot of expectations.
Yeah, I agree. Guy talking about the Tennessee defensive lineman. You've already brought in James Williams. He's 6'6", 260. You brought in Deontay McCray, who's 6'4", 6'5", 283 pounds. And here's another guy, D-line, Jason Jenkins from Tennessee, 6'6", 280 pounds, 9 tackles for loss. Or no, that's 9 tackles, 2 sacks, 1 forced fumble. Not a guy with a ton of production, but somebody that would be a great depth piece before that room, and we'll see what happens. He's supposed to be visiting January 2nd. He's a redshirt junior, 4th-year player, played in all 13 games. So, yeah, look out for him to get on campus. But I agree, totally. And Tony White said it best. He's like, these offensive coordinators offensive coordinators get paid too. And, like, they're too smart. They're going to figure a way to scheme around what you've got going. And to your point, last year we had two first rounders on the defensive line and another guy who was the 3rd, 4th, 5th round, and Fabian Lovett. So, yeah, we could do it. We could sit in that 4-man front and dominate. You saw it against Louisville, Florida at the end of the year. It was unreal. But, yeah, that was one of the biggest problems going into this year with the staff's evaluation of what we had in the trenches on both sides. But
right,
going to the 3-3-5, and now you've only got 1 tackle position versus 2. I think the tackle was obviously our deepest position this year. With Daryl Jackson coming back, a lot of the young bodies we have, I think we'll be good there. KJ Sampson, Daniel Lyons, all those guys. So really excited about Kevin Wynn coming in, Tylon Lee from Pace. So I think we're really good there. And defensive end, we're set on the high end. Wouldn't mind to see another 1 or 2 come in. But, yeah, really, 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 really fun stuff, man. Where to go next? Linebacker. Not a bunch of linebackers on here, but there are 2. Elijah Herring is a guy that we talked about on multiple shows. It was kind of back and forth. Looks like they will get a visit with him. I'm not mistaken. He's 6'3", 230 pounds, 4th-year guys. Fourth-year guy, he had 8 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks, 2 interceptions, 4 passes defended, yada, yada. So I would love to get him in here along with Stephon Thompson. And the other one is a guy that's a newer one that popped up, Marquise Watson-Trent. He's 5'11", 220 pounds, 2024 Sun Belt Defensive Player of the Year. He had 120 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, a sack and a half, 1 pass defense, and 4 first forced fumbles. So I don't know if they'll get one of these guys. If I had to guess, they probably will. It's really tough during this quiet period, and that's kind of what's so amazing about them signing the center during the dead period. Like, that was just a phone conversation, no visit, no nothing. So yeah, I would love to see it. What's your thoughts on the current linebacker core, and kind of, because it's so different. Like, one of the linebackers is basically a defensive end now. You got a Mike linebacker, and then I don't know if you call it a week or a Sam or whatever, but your thoughts on Tony White coming in here and how the linebackers can get turned around.
So I think that's basically going to eliminate one of your DN positions, and basically those guys are going to transition into being linebackers, right? The guy athletic enough to do that. The rest of them, they're going to be either weak side and right or left, however they're doing it. So I think it's good for us to get a couple, because we're going into a whole different defense. Of course, we had some guys actually, shine last year. I think younger guys came in and made some plays, were kind of bright spots for. You have the Graham kid who pulled out of the portal, and he's coming back. And I think I was surprised by that. I think to see him struggle early on and then start playing good and then jump in the portal, I don't know what that conversation went like, what made him come back in, but it's good to have him back because he can be valuable. And I would like to see some SoCon Player of the Year guy, come in as well. Somebody that's proven, and they obviously you don't get SoCon or any Player of the Year unless you're a dog, right? So we could definitely use some players like that, and hopefully, we can pull some other people in as well. But I think that linebacker group is huge for us going into what we're doing next year, because it's like, okay, we got the D-line figured out. Secondary, I believe we're, decently, got some players coming back, whatever it may be. But that linebacker is that big question mark, right? And I think, keep getting a couple people. And like you said, we can get that SoCon guy. I don't know much about the other guys. I prefer, people with, some solid stats. I know you were just talking about one of the defensive linemen from Tennessee. That he didn't have much stats. He's a big guy, though. But I'll be honest with you. I'm one of the 6, but all right, 6'2", 3/4 guy. Came in 250 pounds. So I'm one of those guys that I don't care about the size, man. Is he a dog? That's one of the big things for me. So I'm huge on that. So I need somebody who's actually I can watch film and make plays and actually see them flying around and getting to the ball. And those are the type of guys we need. People who are gonna lay it on the line for us. So I think the linebacker, we definitely need a little bit of something, but it's gonna be a lot of changes. And these new coaches are gonna be demanding stuff from these kids that haven't probably been demanded for them in a while. So they're gonna be able to get the bread and butter out of them, right? So I'm excited. Coaching is huge, and everybody knows that. Your coach is the player. He can make you or break you. He can turn you into a superstar, or you can be average with the wrong coach. And that's something that I was able to see when I got to the NFL. Different coaching styles, different coaches, coaches that pushed you and other coaches that were just more laid back and chill. So coaching is very important. But I think, at the end of the day, a lot of it does still come down to the kid and how great they want to be. But that coaching part, if you have a kid who wants to be great and you have a coach that wants him to be great and pushes him to be great, then that's a recipe for success. And I'm hoping that's going to be the situation this year. Even with the guys that we have, we don't, get any big names. We're going to be okay because the coaches, they're going to put the extra work in and make sure these guys get caught up to speed on it.
No doubt, we definitely upgraded. Again, we won't name no names, but Tony White, Pooches, hopefully they can get these guys lined up. A couple little news stories before we move in. I got some questions for Everett on his coaching and what his kind of ambitions are. But Kevin Knowles has declared for the NFL draft. Navy beats OU. And so somebody held a gun to Kirk Herbstreit's head, and he had to tweet out a positive thing about that game, which was pretty funny. And then man, I forget the name. We have lost an amazing journalist today as well.
Greg Gumbel.
Greg Gumbel. I didn't want to say Bryant and mess it up. Yes, Greg Gumbel. Rest in peace. So, Jen, any thoughts on those couple news stories there before we move on?
Well, I mean, you really do hate to see an SEC team that was one of Bama's best losses, and reason that, maybe possibly they should have been in the playoff because they had a good loss, go and lose to Navy. I mean, you hate to see it. I know I do. I was very upset about this. Yeah, nobody cares. Um, so the other thing was, I mean, rest in peace, Greg Gumbel. You don't have journalists like him anymore, and that's the problem. That's honestly the problem. You have journalists now who live off of who they're paid by, who their sponsors are, and you have people like Kirk Herbstreit. That's what you get. And so it's very unfortunate that, legends like Greg Gumbel go and get replaced by people like Kirk Herbstreit. But rest in peace, Greg. He was amazing. That's all you can say. He was an actual journalist. And, you kind of miss it.
No doubt, man. It's aggravating. It's bad enough in politics, and we don't talk politics in here. We do all that arguing politics off the thing, but that's what's so infuriating. College football sports is supposed to be a meritocracy.
Yep.
And with all this stuff, SEC, Kirk Herbstreit just shamelessly, just downgrading anybody but an SEC team, it really stinks. So glad to see it kind of. We told everybody last year, like it was messed up, it was screwed up. Everybody told us we were crybabies. It's nice to see the rest of the country and a lot of these big media people, get on our side of it. From your point of view, how do you see it? Was it this bad back when you were at school? I don't like. They said the same kind of things about Florida State in 2013, but it's gotten pretty crazy, Everett.
Yeah, so I think you have that big SEC thing was still going on at the time, right? And that's why we wanted to play Bama. So
Mm-hmm.
that's was our thing. Play Bama, play Bama. Ended up, we shouldn't have lost to NC State, and we shouldn't have lost to Florida here. That kind of killed our dream. But that was our thing. We wanted to play Bama because that was the pedestal of college football at the time. Even the next year, people still say, we beat Auburn, and that wasn't, man, Alabama. That's Alabama's fault. They lost. We didn't, you know what I mean? We wanted to play Bama. That's always been the biggest thing. But no, it's been big SEC. But I love NIL. NIL has taken that away from the SEC. You're no longer who you used to be now because Texas Tech is number one in the recruiting. I looked at Kansas was number 10. I'm looking at that. Oh, this is crazy. Now you still got 4 SEC teams there. They got money, but to see that landscape changing, and it's not just the SEC anymore. This is going to be all of college football. The playing field is even somewhat. If you're rich and you got a lot of money, it's going to be a little different for you. But it's always been heavy SEC. We didn't have, well, you had Facebook and Twitter just started, but it was no.
Yeah, nothing like today.
Yeah, it's nowhere near the magnitude of what it is today. So it's refreshing to see those guys, Shannon Sharp and the rest of them. They were on Herbstreit, and I don't think he's came out and said much, but I think he makes a couple of mistakes a year, and hopefully he learns from it. But yeah. Last year, that was just a whole, that was a whole fiasco, man. And you hate to see those type of things. And, I don't think we respond to it well because obviously this year what happened and it lingered and affected us a little bit more. Should have. But, yeah, I think the media thing is insane right now. And it's not respectable guys, like you said, Gumbels, Stuart Scott, and, all these other guys.
Mm-hmm.
Respectable. Now it's like you're paid, and this is who you're rooting for. You're rooting for certain teams. You don't other teams do good, right? So yeah, it's a different ball game now.
The ability to just ignore the contradictions. Go ahead, Jen.
I was just going to say, Tim Brando, Greg Gumbel, Stuart Scott, you have a list of them that actually used to call it straight. without sitting there worrying about what their conference was. It was about how these kids played, what games they won, what they didn't win. And by the way, good losses are not good losses. Okay.
Yeah.
Playing a game of sports, and whether it's you're sitting down to play cards, if you lose to your grandma who's played spades for, 45 years, and you lose to her, you still lost to her. It's not a good loss. Okay. You lost. This
Yeah.
is what sports is about. And I don't understand this. And the fact that that dude got on TV and was like, wins and losses shouldn't matter. I'm sorry. How else are you supposed to tell who won the game?
Bingo.
And this is the same guy in 2017 when Ohio State was 10-2 with 5 ranked wins, and Bama was 11-1 with like 1 or 2 ranked wins. Was all for Alabama getting in, and Alabama get in over Ohio State. But now when it's reversed, wins don't matter. And like I said about the contradictions, the thing with the Tennessee score right behind him, and he's still saying Indiana and SMU didn't
No
deserve to be
shame.
there. It's like, golly, man, it's crazy. Crazy stuff, man. But talk to us a little bit about your high school coaching career. Like, have you ever thought, do you have ambitions of moving up, possibly getting into the Florida game, or are you pretty comfortable there building a foundation there in South Carolina? Just curious exactly what you got going on over there.
So I honestly always knew I would get back into coaching. When I got out of the NFL, I went into arena ball for a couple of years, and Odell, he kind of told me then, he was like, "Man, if you're gonna do it, you need to come on and come back and ask Jimbo, can you be a GA or something on the staff?" But honestly, I've been playing football since I was 7, right? So I kind of, when I was done with arena ball, I kind of needed a refreshment, like a break, right? A reset. I've been doing this so long, like get out in the world and kind of just experience life without football. Things were I owned a couple of businesses, and I'm just over that part now, right? Because I like to get paid. I don't like to have to pay people, right? So that's what's kind of changed for me. And I started coaching defensive end team 2 years ago, and it was just, I ended up taking a break because we had a baby on the way and we were getting ready for a wedding, and I took a break. But that passion was in me. Right now, I got these kids out here, and I'm excited. People sending me videos of me on the sideline. One of my guys get a sack, I go crazy on the sideline. And that light started back flickering off, because I think a lot of people don't understand, once you've been doing something for so long, with football, and it's kind of hard to even get back on the sideline and not being packed, being a hat, right? It's different for that to kind of settle in for you. It takes the time for some people, and because sometimes it's a disappointment, especially for me. I definitely feel like I had more years in me, but once you get your last shot, that's your last shot. Somebody doesn't call, you don't get that call, and it's over, right? So when that finally set in for me, it's like, yeah, let me get back active and doing what I love to do and what I'm right, because I owned landscaping business. I'm not passionate about it, right? I owned a box truck business. I'm not passionate about making deliveries for one of these companies, customers. Passionate about football. And that's something I love to do, and I can wake up and do. And for my home, and I wanted to start back at home always, because we are in a situation now where we're kind of building back up to where we used to be. We're dominant high school in South Carolina. We built pipelines to Florida State, to other schools around us in the area. We have a lot of great players that came from high school. So we're working to get that back. And I think me coming back and helping teach guys stuff that I didn't learn on a high school level, stuff that when they go to college, they'll already know it, because I've already taught it to them, right? Using hands, technique as far as being low, running feet, just small, simple stuff that you usually, for me in high school, I was all talent, right? I did what I did off of talent. Yeah, I had a couple technique, but I mean, I was just fast enough, I was quick enough, and I outworked everybody enough where I could beat whoever's in front of me, right? But now you got those guys, when you get to college, they doing the same thing you're doing, right? So now you need some technique to add on to that, and that's what I'm bringing those guys at my high school now. And I'm very excited because we got 2 guys going to college this year, free scholarships, and it's been a while since we've had that in my school. So um, I'm happy to be back and helping. And that's my goal, to help every kid that we have that plays defense line for us make it to that next level. So we have 3 seniors. I know for sure 3 seniors next year, maybe 4, but same goal for next year. Help all 3 of them to make it to the college level. Get a free scholarship. Doesn't matter if it's D3, D2, D defensive, division. Doesn't matter. Let me get the best that I can get out of you on this high school level and help you get a scholarship, right? At the end of the day, that's all that matters. I'm very passionate about it. I'm excited about it. I've talked to a lot of guys, and you see now it's a network of guys that I played with, that I was either on teams or I played against, but they've been coaching since they've college, and now you see them, they're OCs, they're DCs, whatever it may be, and it's kind of neat and cool to see that these guys are actually climbing their way up the ladder, or maybe they just didn't have a professional career as long as mine, and they were able to get into it earlier. So I'm definitely here doing ball. That's what I love to do. I've talked to my wife. I've let my wife know the schedule, how it looks, and everything, and she's down for it. We have kids, and that's something we have to work out around. But definitely, my son, he's pretty big, so I'm pretty sure he's gonna follow my footsteps and play football. So it's gonna be pretty cool to be able to see me on the sideline coaching, and me able to just bring him up along the way and show him what I didn't know, and he maybe he's lucky enough to be a 5-star type of guy one day. So I'm into it. Definitely looking to climb my way up. My coach asked me the other day in our exit meetings. I always told him, it's also an opportunity for me to provide for my family. So I don't see myself as just a position coach on the high school level for long, just because high school is high school. The pay is, I heard it's terrible in Florida, but it's not as bad in South Carolina as it is in Florida. So I don't even know how those guys coach in Florida, right? That's disrespectful to those guys, because they put out a lot of talent down there. So
they got to peak is what the deal is.
Yeah, they need they deserve way more than what they get down there for sure. But it's decent in South Carolina, so I'm here. And for me, it'll be a move where I move up versus a lateral move for me. So I'm definitely looking to build my way up, whether that's a high school head coach, whether it's a assistant D line in college, work my way up. But I'm just laying the groundwork right now and putting the proof in the pudding, like you say, getting these guys and helping them turn around. And you can see, well, hey, we haven't been getting these guys in college lately, but since I've been here, consistent year after year, and that's something that's huge. Kind of see that, well, yeah, this guy isn't just a former football player. You have the big thing now that a lot. Because he played football doesn't mean he can coach. And I agree, because I know I play with a lot of people that I wouldn't want my son to play for, right? And I agree totally with that. But you run into those kids, the guys that were students of the game and really understood how to play the game and how other people should play the game. Just things that I learned along the way. Odell, teaching me, I made false step. He shows me where your false step is, because your foot is turned inward, instead of straight. So just small things like that, and just how you're shooting your hands and using them. Even missing. All right, we're pass rushing, and I'm not hitting hands like I'm supposed to. He's in front of me. He sees your eyes are closed. That's why you're missing it, right? So I teach those same things to my guys. Open your eyes. You're not looking at what you're hitting. That's why you're missing it. And they're catching on, and they're going out and getting 2 sacks a game. So just being able to go and take all that stuff and teach these guys, man, and just keep motivating them. But my goal is to climb the ladder, and I put the work in. I'm putting it in, and until that happens for me. But hopefully, somebody sees the value in me, and I can actually go out and show people pretty much that what I can do.
Andre Elam says he can put you in touch with some people, I guess, around your area. Josh Norman, DJ Swearinger, Ben Coates. So that's cool. I guess he says Byron Allen married one of his home girls. We appreciate you joining us, Mr. Elam. Yeah, you've hit on some good stuff there. I think the new rule with the associate head coach or the associate assistant coaches or whatever, that was perfect. Mm-hmm. We were talking about how that would be perfect for Odell to stay on the staff, and he moved into that role. So probably a little bit more money than those old analyst jobs back in the day. Who knows? Maybe when your boy's coming up, maybe we could have a Mario Edwards Sr., Mario Edwards Jr. situation at Florida State. That'd be pretty beautiful. So I'm definitely pulling for that
Yeah,
for you, my friend, no doubt.
sure, definitely. And I was happy to see that for Odell because I think he's still valuable. He's that far.
Oh, Lord, yes.
Yeah, he's that great father figure that can get you snap back in line whenever, whatever you got may going on, motivates you. And a lot of people just love Odell. So that was good to see him still stay around. But, like I said, Odell's been at Florida State since the 80s, I think it was nice for them to do it the way they did it. But I am excited about what Terrence is bringing because I know he's going to get, he's young, full of energy. And I know Odell's a little bit older. There's no way he's still on those guys like he was on us, right?
Yeah.
He'd be on us. I'm going to tell you right now, you're one of the younger guys, freshman, you hated practice, right? You hated it too because you knew somebody was going to get chewed out, right? So I love the way they transitioned into it, but I love what Titans going to be doing, and I love the energy he's bringing. And that's what I mean. He's going to be able to get something special out of some of those kids, man. Everybody's going to be dogs, and everybody is just going to be just nasty, man. And that's what you need from linemen and offensive linemen. If you're not nasty, I can take you as if you're a nice guy, but you have great technique. Yeah, that's okay, but man, I want some dogs up front. That's point blank period.
Preach, preach, preach. And we're going to go through here. We're already an hour in. This has been a crazy, awesome conversation. I'm going to run down a list of a couple of high school guys here before we get out of here. But Jen, any questions for Everett or any avenue we hadn't went down before we end with the high school recruit?
The one question I would ask is like, what do you think about the new coaching staff? I know we've kind of gotten into it a little bit with Mike having to hire new people. Are you feeling it? I know we kind of said it with Terrence Knight and Herb Hand, but like
Right.
with the new wide receiver coach, with Mike staying on, with everything that happened this year, how do you feel about it?
So I think that, what we did from the OC position and the DC position, I think that's kind of going to trickle down, and you're going to have those coaches demanding, perfection from their position coaches, right? Now, am I right? Is he letting the OC call? He's going to let them call the plays and everything.
Yes.
So that's what I love. Everybody is
Yeah.
coaches for giving up play calling, and they don't understand, like, hey, I can't call. You can do it, but it's so hard, and so you're gonna miss other things going on around you because you're trying to call the plays instead of sitting back and watching. I love Bobby Bowden. Bobby Bowden used to sit up there in the top of that tower and look down all practice, and he knew after practice who he was going to speak on and what he was going to say, what went wrong in practice, and all those things because he was a great leader, right? I don't think your head coach has to be a great OC or a great DC, be a great leader, right? And he needs to be able to make sure that all the other people he have under him are doing what they're supposed to do, right? So I love the changes that he's made. I don't think Norvell would bring anybody in who he doesn't believe in, right? At this point, Norvell isn't playing any games. He heard what everybody was about him. he saw all the tweets, he saw everything, but he knew with 2-10, that's what comes with that. You expect that, right? You don't feel disrespected. You don't feel any type of way. Essentially you let a whole Florida State, Seminole fan base down, the kids as well. So what do I need to do? I need to go back and restructure. You know what? 4.5, take it off. I don't need it. I didn't earn this money, right? So that's the right attitude for him to take. And I love it because a lot of people aren't going to do that. A lot of people are going to point fingers and say it's on, it's this guy and that guy. No, Norvell never did that. He always went to, now people got sick of it, but he always went back and said, I need to, it's on me. I need to fix it. I got to do this and that, do that. That's a leader, right? You don't have a guy point fingers. Yeah, some guys fired out season. I don't think all of that went pretty as it could have been, but it had to happen. And obviously, the administration wasn't gonna get rid of Norvell. And hey, all right, you're not getting rid of him. What kind of changes are we gonna make? Boom, we got our guys. We're rolling in with the portal. We're on an up and up. We're a top 20 recruiting class from 50 something. Everybody laughed at us because we lost all of these guys. Okay, laugh now, cry later. All right. So I love what we're doing, love the direction we're headed in. I'm all in. As of course, we have no choice but to be all in because we're similar.
That's right.
We're not going to go join another fan base, that's for sure. So
No.
yeah, definitely. So I love what's going on, man, and I love the coaching calls. And I'm sure these guys are going to get everything out of these players. And if that's not the situation, then those position coaches, it's going to be somebody else there next year, and that's just the case. I don't think they're playing any more games. Norvell it falls back on him.
Yeah.
Going to have another situation like he has this year with receivers not catching the ball, linebackers not doing what they're supposed to do, defensive linemen not playing the way they're playing. So he means business. I like this Mike Norvell. Yeah, I love it. So we're headed in the right direction.
I'm
I
with you.
like it
I'm all in.
too. Hey, George, I have one more question because I've been asked to ask this by my future ex-husband. KP wants to know who gave you your biggest hit as soon as you got to college during practice, or in a game. What was your biggest welcome to the game?
Man, listen, it was Rodney.
Rodney Hudson. I was going to say, he was a dog.
Through Daco on a double team. I was 245 pounds, fresh out of South. I was a defensive end. We had the Music City Bowl scandal, and I should have knew this already, but
I was at that game.
Yeah, the year, I played in high school. I played D tackle the year before at 250. So I was the only guy with defensive tackle experience. They threw me in the fire. All right, let me say that. Nick, he's DC down at Miami now. He was the middle linebacker that was in. And man, when I tell you I got blew up and I was back there with him, like he got, he went, get his ass off the field. He went off. I was mad, because I'm like, man, I'm doing favor. Like I'm not I didn't come in, it actually transitioned into me learning my technique from Odell, and I love playing for Odell. And at the time, my defensive end coach, he was man. I do not think I'll ever be and because he did more fussing and cussing than he did teaching, right? So I hated that, and I hate when I see other coaches do that because it's not the way a lot of kids do that well. So I ended up, getting everything figured out, but that was college football. And then when I went to Minnesota, they were coming off of the Adrian Peterson's MVP year. So imagine that offensive line. You got Phil Lodeholt. He coaches up in Colorado. I don't know if you know who Phil Lodeholt is, but he is a gigantic human being, 6'50". Let's just say it took me a while to learn. The NFL double teams were a little different than college. Let's just say that, man. So I've had a couple welcomes in college and in the NFL, man. But that's part of it for sure.
Hey, Rodney, I don't know if it's first ballot Hall of Fame, but he's a Hall of Famer. Like what he did in the NFL, is 8 seasons of just like all pro level play at center.
Yeah.
A beast. So I imagine that was tough as an undersized freshman to go up against him at that point in time. We got a couple other questions. Gianni Vitello wants to know, what was your favorite nightclub when you were at FSU? Was it the library, CPA, or the Moon?
Oh man, we got to take it to the Moon now. Come on. Look, I was in the library. The only time I went to the library is when I had to study. Yeah. Moon.
People calling for the Moon to come back. They use it as like an event space. Me and Jim went to a Battles End thing there.
Yeah.
Spring game. But I've just heard so many stories. I was too young back in those days. I was just a kid. So I'd like them to open it up so I can see a little bit what it's like. Like KP says, I told you so.
There was a lot of legendary nights in the Moon for sure.
Yeah, we'll have to do a members only episode or something where we can get into some of the crazy stories from the guys on the field, but we won't do it here on the live unless you just want to, offer something up.
Yeah, I got a lot of stories. Yeah, for sure.
So another one somebody put in here, and Jen's gonna love it. I've done lost it, but apparently Herb Hand was with Rick Trickett for 5 years from 2026 or 2001 to 2006. So it all makes sense, Jen. We got the guy. Let me figure out where it was. Okay,
Look,
West Virginia. They were at West Virginia together
yeah, at
and
West
with the Titans
Virginia.
coach. So
Yep.
it all makes sense.
Feel even better. Yeah,
I'm telling you. I mean, if we can get Clint back here so the ladies can have their eye candy on the sidelines, that's all I'm going to say. That's it.
Well, they're piled up at Jacksonville State. If
yeah.
Clint and Rick can get something going, who knows? Maybe they could end up here somewhere down the road. It wouldn't be the end of the day. I don't think we'll ever have a hot female coach, so I can't empathize with you on that.
Y'all get the women in the stands. Please be quiet. Y'all get all your eye candy all you want to. All of us are just asking for one thing. One thing. Just it.
You
We
never
just
know.
need one thing. That's it.
Funny stuff. Funny stuff. Well, all right. Let's go over the high school people to look for before we get out of here. One story that happened, coolest thing ever. He's a kind of under recruited guy, but he's listed still at 5'11" on the sites. But if you saw Den Media Group, our guy James Coleman's show today, he called Antonio Cromartie, talked to him. Antonio Cromartie Jr. gets an offer on Christmas. He's not 5'11", according to our guy Antonio. He's 6'1" now. So 6'1", getting up closer to 180 pounds, kind of a late growth spurt. And to hear him talk, he's fired up about him. He's supposed to be here in June if he does get that commitment like we're hoping, because I think we're full with the walk-ons and the plans they have for the roster right now. So I guess after some people transfer in spring, he'll probably get over here. Super, super cool to see that. Kid out of Carrollton, Georgia. It's kind of a mixed bag with, legacy people, but he has all the stuff. He fits the profile for what Pat Surtain does, and I imagine those 2 inches is probably what got him the offer. Any thoughts on Crow Jr. possibly coming to Florida State?
I love to see it, man. Hopefully, we can get an upward trend of legacy guys coming in. Actually, heading in the right trajectory. I don't think we've had much luck or success with it lately. But like I said, his dad's coach, so I mean that kind of helps out, train young, kind of whatever it may be, you can be that extra bumper for him. So I'm excited to see that. That means Florida State cares about, I got the guys that kind of set the standards at Florida State. So it's exciting to see. I know Carrollton, they won state, and they're a pretty great high school. So I know he has to have some dog into him. And even with him being a son, he still has to have, he has to be sometime, well. So, I was happy to see that for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. And I would love to see it. And there's a different path for everybody. We had our guy, Javian Elliott, on here the other day. He didn't play football for 3 years after high school, walked on, and as a starter after a year, the second year at Florida State, goes and starts for Tampa Bay for a couple games. He's there for several years, goes to the Panthers. So it's definitely possible. And in this climate with the 105 scholarships, I guess he probably might have been a preferred walk-on last year, but now with this, he's getting a legit scholarship offer. You got 105 spots. So I love to see it. As far as who to look for, guys, because there's not a ton of high school guys left, but I will let you guys know we've got 308 people in here live. I know you guys want to know about this stuff. Chasen Brown is a guy that I've talked about. 6'7", 270 pounds, former UCF commit. He's not got no crystal balls going anywhere. His thing's been kind of quiet, but he did tweet out the other day when we got the center, or maybe it was after we got Micah Pettis, actually, like, oh shit, eyeball emojis and a bunch of fire symbols talking about Florida State's got the momentum right now. So he's somebody that I'm gonna go ahead and put my crystal ball in. I think you get Chasen Brown in this high school class, and that would just be a huge get. You already got the 6'7" offensive tackle, Xavier Payne, who's kind of an unrated guy, but got all the frame and everything you need. But yeah, Chasen Brown, holy crap. Everett was talking about it earlier. If you can start getting these monsters in from the high school class and get it rolling, we're going to have to hit the portal again for O-line next year, but it can quickly start to build when you get these guys in here. The other one is Ty Haywood. I'm not getting my hopes up, but I've heard, I read something here and I've heard 2 or 3 people now mention it. They're trying to spin the block on Ty Haywood, a borderline 5-star offensive tackle. We'll see what happens there.
Ohio State is what happens there.
Yeah, most likely, if I had to guess.
Well, they're throwing $1 million around. As a kid,
Yeah. Like, I mean, let's just be for real here.
sure, it's one of the guys that we're recruiting from South Carolina, and that's what it's coming to. Ohio State's offering $1 million, and he's not $1 million guy at Florida State. Maybe 400 something, maybe like that. 300, but Ohio State's just throwing the bag out, man, and that's
Yeah.
what it is.
Yep, you got it, and it's so difficult because from an outside perspective looking in, it's like, well, just the size and the potential, it's worth it. What is it? We got all this money. Yeah, screw it, just throw it out. But it's not just how much money you give a guy. Like, oh, can they afford it? Maybe they could afford it, but it's a message it sends to the rest of the locker room. Like, he can't make more than what Pettis just got for 1 year. You know what I mean? So we'll see what it is. But I think that's a little bit with Caden Kittler and Addison Nichols, the two centers we missed on.
Right.
Me and Jen talked about it. Like, whatever they wanted, people were upset they didn't spend it, but I think you end up in a better way. So yeah, look for Chase and Brown. I don't really expect Ty Haywood. Another one is Onis Conanbanny, a guy we talked about a ton, thought was going to end up being here, but he plays for South Florida Express. And Coach Dirt, whatever, he's turned on us. He's not a Florida State fan. I don't know if he was big on Randy Chan or somebody left the staff. He's talking shit about us on the timeline. He's up with the Ohio States of the world, and that's just kind of how that stuff goes. So I know they're trying to get another visit, maybe get him here, but I wouldn't hold my breath on Conanbanny. But hey, I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again. The one guy that I am excited about, and it's another Ohio State battle. So we'll see what happens there. We beat him on a couple guys. Zahir Mathis, 6'6", 225-pound edge guy, number 75 overall, number 6 edge, number 3 player in Pennsylvania. Woo! Yeah, he's crystal ball to Ohio State, but Florida State's going to try to flip around and get him. So we'll see what happens there. But I think to Everett and Jen's point, probably another tough one.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. No offense. I mean, I'm not saying that it's because Florida State isn't great. I mean, Ohio State is literally killing the game in NIL. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
I'm a broke high school kid. I love you, Florida State. You got 200,000 for me, and it has $1 million. I mean, hey, come on. I mean, that's not right. Beautiful thing.
Look, yeah.
It is what it is. You really have to have guys that love.
And they're playing in the playoffs right now. The other part, like that's huge. They just destroyed, and I mean destroyed an SEC team that ESPN was going, when's their coach going to get fired when they lose to Tennessee? Who are they going to hire? How's this going to work out for them when Tennessee walks into their building and, takes over their stadium and blah, 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 which didn't happen, So, I mean, Ohio State has to be riding high off that. You're not going to beat Ohio State right now. If they want you, they're going to get you. They're going to drop the money. It doesn't mean anything bad. The Chicken Littles need to just stop. That is what it is. There's nothing you can do about it. That's what I would say about this.
Yeah, but the good thing about it is Florida State can be there as well, as long as
Absolutely.
we can be there. Only thing holding us back is us. So the more we win, the more we have the same back to play around with like them. So
absolutely,
that's the case. But just baby steps, right? We can be getting
I'm just glad they're doing it to SEC teams right now. That's what I am sitting there going, thank you, Ohio State. You take care of Tennessee. Get them out of my mentions right now. Which, by the way, we don't have any Tennessee fans on the show because they hate me, by the way. That's the issue.
Yeah, somebody went off on me on Facebook, and I was just joking around. I was like, I said, don't worry, SEC fans. Tennessee about to get whooped too, because we were just talking about FSU and the other team that got beat, and Clemson. And I said it, man, they got mad, they got personal. I was like, make it easy.
They get so mad, and I live with them. I live with them, which makes me hate them even more. Yeah. And they come into the show every time, which, by the way, they've been missing. Should we put out a bolo for them like we have for Lane Kiffin? I don't know.
Right.
But that's fine. And no, I think Florida State, of course, will get back there. They're always going to be a brand. They're always going to be a big-time school. But right now, you can't just sit there and say, hey, this kid wants to go here. that makes us be doing bad. No, no, it doesn't. Like you're just not going to drop like $1 million for a kid that may not start. You're just not going to do it.
Yeah.
It's a new era. It's a new era in college
Yeah.
football. And yeah, we're only 1 year removed. If there had been a 12 team last year, FSU would have been in. They maybe would have won it. But we'll see if it takes 1 or 2 years. But we'll be back there. I'm really bad about this. I never remember to sell. Like I don't ask for super chats a ton. Ask for members, subscribers, likes. But I'll do it now. Please hit subscribe if you're in here still. Please hit the like button. Literally, I know it. You can't lie to me. Guys, half of y'all aren't subscribed. We've done almost 300 videos. We've got, 150,000 watch hours, almost, 600,000 views, all that. And yeah, half of our viewers are always unsubscribed. So if you got a chance to hit that subscribe button, can't explain how huge that is for us. I don't know exactly how many now, if we've picked any up on the show, but we're going to be at 3,000 subscribers any second now. So if you could help us get there, that would be huge. I really appreciate you guys. And yeah, thank you. Big thank you to Everett. Big thank you to Jen, as always. If you have any questions or anything in the chat, speak now or forever hold your peace. We're starting to get down to the nitty gritty. It's been a lot of fun. But again, hit that sub. Appreciate you, Prince Bowie. Jen, any more questions for Everett, or Everett, anything you've got before we get out of here?
Oh, man, thank you guys for hosting me, having me on.
Thank you.
Pretty good show you guys got going. Keep doing it. I love what I'm seeing and hearing. And go Noles.
Thank you
absolutely.
so much.
Definitely. My pleasure.
It means a lot, like, especially in the beginning, like, it's kind of just, normal now. But anytime we get to have a former player or coach or whatever the case may be, I want to do my very best to like make them shine, make them have a good time and have a good conversation. So to hear you say that just makes my night. To see the chat saying great interview, all that stuff, we appreciate it. Shout out to KP, R. Wilmer for always being here. Andre Elam, that's one I haven't seen a ton. Appreciate you for joining. CWJR77, new to this, Prince Bowie, Dave FSU 47, Nick Samarikoff, T. Murray, Gianni Vasello. Who else we got in here? Von Mayer Jr. is always in here. Peter Shields, my guy. Ton of guys. We appreciate everybody for jumping in here. This was a ton of fun. And, dude, anytime you want to come back, you just say the word. We'll have you back. And it was an absolute blast, man.
My pleasure. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dan, you have a good one.
Absolutely.
Have a good
Anything for the
night.
haters? Anything for the haters, Jen, before we get out of here?
Which ones?
I don't know. I'm just asking. I always miss the chat. I'm just making sure. Sign us off. Give us a good
No,
take and hit the
actually,
road.
we had 0 Tennessee fans in here. We had 0 Miami fans. I don't know what's going on. I guess Miami fans are still in their little pastry drawn out coma to get ready for the Pop-Tart Bowl tomorrow with their generational quarterback. Imagine spending that much money to go to the Pop-Tart Bowl. I couldn't, but hey, some of us actually win conference championships and, play for big games.
Go.
So it's all about them Knowles. We love you guys. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. We'll be back
Love you
Monday with
guys.
the Renegade Roast at 8:30 Eastern, as always, with Jen Santi and Tiny Hat. Who knows? They may have a guest, maybe to preview some of those playoff matchups as we pull for Notre Dame, pull for everybody playing an SEC team, Ohio State, et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, we love you guys. Go Knowles.
Oh, wait, Oregon fan in here. Thank you to Oregon. Go Oregon.
Yes, pulling
Good for
for
you.
Oregon too. Absolutely.
I want you to put the word out there. We back on. We back on.
So I think we ain't doing it. I think we ain't doing it.